Good morning, everyone. Hope y'all are having a great day. But now it is time for DBA Fundamentals. Today we're going to be talking with Jean Joseph on end-to-end SQL database development, a comprehensive guide with interactive prompts. As always, obviously. Today is March 19th, 2024. In the top right-hand side of the screen, you will be able to see the three leaders of the DBA Fundamentals organization: Steve Cantrell, Shane O'Neill, and myself, Kevin Wilkie. The easiest way to get hold of us is through our Twitter handles, or at least as long as it is Twitter, as you can see on the right-hand side of our names. On the right hand, down below that, you will see various ways to get hold of us on social media. The top one being Meetup, where most of you probably got the information to log on to our Teams meeting today. Below that is our user group and our website for our user group, dbafund.com, where you can see all of our past presentations as well as upcoming ones, or at least links to them. Below that is what I like to call one of the greatest sites for DBAs on the web, dbafundtube.com, where you can see all of our past presentations. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel there, um, where you can, yeah, like I said, you can see all of the meetings themselves that have happened, and you'll be, when you like and subscribe to it, obviously you'll be able to see any of our presentations the minute they go out there for you to actually look at. Below that is our other ways to get a hold of us on social media: Twitter, our Slack channel, and our LinkedIn group. Some of our upcoming conferences that are out there and looks like will be it's really a huge part of everything we have out there. First off is Microsoft Fabric, which happens in Vegas this year on March 26th through 28th, as well as there being pre-cons and post-cons on 24th, 25th, and 29th. If you haven't registered for it, be sure to do that in kind of a hurry at this point. And also, you can use the code Azure Data Community for $100 off off the price of it. Also, coming in May is the Data Grillin'. If you haven't been to that, it is a huge amount of fun. There's lots of stuff about uh, data, obviously, and you get to see and eat lots of great meat and other goodies as well. As always, be sure to remember to turn your video off and mute yourself so that we can all pay attention to our presenter as soon as he gets here. And please be sure to type any questions you have into the chat. I'll be monitoring them and giving them off to Jean as he gets here. And here is Jean's bio as well. If anybody doesn't know Jean, he has been a data engineer for several years. Speaking of Jean, there he is. And there, yep.
How are you doing, Kevin?
Jean, I am awesome. How about yourself?
I'm amazing, Kevin. Sorry about that. I'm a bit late. Yeah,
All good. We had just got through the preamble, so it's over to you.
amazing. Sounds amazing. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. And first of all, I'd like to say thanks to Kevin. Me and Kevin, we work very close. Yeah. Um, uh, to support the data community, and I can't express my gratitude for all the support Kevin has been given to us. Thanks a lot, Kevin. And thanks for giving me a chance to share my knowledge and experience in the generative AI with your community. And team, for your information, I'm gonna share my screen with you. I will keep the presentation. Let me share my screen. I'm gonna keep the presentation very, um, uh, where is the, uh, Okay, share screen. Let me see this again. Which screen? Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, there we
Perfect.
go.
So I'm gonna remove this a little bit. Okay, give me a second. Okay, perfect. So now, the objective of this presentation is to show you the capability of the generative AI and walk you through how the generative AI can be a knowledgeable peer for you. So therefore, you don't need to have advanced knowledge in coding when it comes to transact SQL development. Okay. And also, I will keep it very interactive, and I have a meeting to join at 1 p.m. So therefore, I'd like to leave the call 5 minutes early. So in case if you want to reach out to me, this is my email. Okay. And you know me, I am Jean Joseph. I'm based out of New Jersey and originally from Haiti. I do have an accent, and therefore I acknowledge that if I did say something you didn't quietly get it, I highly suggest you to raise your virtual hand and have me repeat myself. Okay. And the objective of this presentation is to perform a database development, end-to-end database development using prompt as Transact SQL. So consider, for example, we have this Excel sheet. Let me see, where do I have this? This is a CSV files. Okay. We received this from business, and business let us know we have to load this in a daily basis. And if you are a software developer, consider you don't have experience in database development, right? That's going to be an issue. You will rely on your core. Sorry about that. You will rely on, for example, on your, let me see if I can quickly turn that off. Okay. Yep. So is that the proper way to turn that off? Or you know what? Give me a second. For privacy, for security and privacy, I'm gonna switch to another screen. So therefore I know whatever I'm sharing with you, it's exactly what it is. I'm gonna stop sharing for a bit, okay? And I'm gonna move to a different screen just to make sure, yeah, I only focus on, okay? Give me a second. Perfect. So now, okay, I have nothing here. Okay, I stop sharing. And this is the Excel sheet. Perfect. And I will leave this right here in front of me. Let me share Windows. And then, can you please confirm that you're able to see my screen?
There we go.
Yeah, you see the Excel sheet, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, and yeah, so perfect. So here's the thing: if we receive this email and they give us these files, right? What we normally do, we normally sit down with business and try to understand business need and translate all the business requirement into IT processes. So consider if we are not a SQL database developer, what we normally do, we're gonna have to rely on SQL teams, right? And consider if we are a SQL database developer and we need to work more efficiently, uh, you you need to get the work done uh, having a second pair of eyes. This is the goal of these presentations. And from the back end, I will use Azure OpenAI. I'm going to walk you through the entire code. And at the end of this presentation, you'll be surprised. It doesn't matter your level of experience in database development and deployment. At the end of this presentation, you will see how the generative AI will play our role, right? As long as you know how to communicate well with it. I'm going to bring you the business requirement. Consider this is the business requirement. What business want from this file is they want to perform analytic. The type of analytic they want to do is that they want to grouping sales data by country and category. Okay, and also they want to return the total number of orders and the total purchase price for each group. If a specific country is provided, and the processor should filter the data for that country. Otherwise, it should return the entire data. So that's one. The second requirement is that they want to perform to get a bicycle sales data. What they want to be returned is that they want to group the sales data by country, category, colors, and count the quantity of each color or each product has been sold by color. So what we normally do, uh, we normally have to come and translate those needs into IT processes. But as I mentioned, the objective of this presentation is to see, can we bring the generative AI? Okay, if we can bring the generative AI, how can we get it done proper way, right? And then what would be the consideration in terms of implementation and strategy? So I would love to go and ask a couple questions because of time constraint. Guess what? I'm gonna jump into the demo, right? Uh, here's the thing. I'm gonna share the URL with you, so you don't need to take screenshot of any codes. Everything is already available on my Get repo and also Microsoft Azure SQL database Get repo. I did contribute to that. So I highly suggest you to just focus. And if you do have a question, don't hesitate to ask. I'm gonna go mainly on the configuration in case if you want to reproduce the same or experiment is that once you download the file, there will be a couple modification you have to do. And there is a file that called bicycle data prompt.json, and this is the file that you are seeing here. The goal of this file is to maintain the flow of the conversation. You see, the same way you have in conversation when you are in a meeting or if you're communicating with your peer, those flow, the way you know the sequence of the steps you need to be applied. Those are the ones that I am defining. The reason why I'm using a JSON file is that remember, ChatGPT completion is a stateless. And within your Windows context, in the context of LLM, um, maintaining accuracy is hard because if you go out of context, guess what happened? Uh, Hallucination can happen or inaccurate completion can happen. So for me, we think that JSON file, if I click here, you can see that we have different kind of conversations to perform the deployment. We have a conversation where that conversation will initiate the initial transaction code deployment. You might notice that I have a system role. The role of this system is to uh, um, allow the assistant to generate or predict what will be the next token based on the context that you provided. We think this one, I I give the system role enough hint for the system role to know exactly the expectation. And you might notice there's a consistency within the code because the system role has the entire hint, okay, when it comes to accuracy. So I don't need to provide big length in terms of task, okay? And guess what happened? Remember, we are being charged by the number of tokens. So therefore, having all the ends within the system, it will allow me to have the user input very concise. Okay. Here is where I'm defining, because when it comes to development, we need to keep track of the logging process, what has been completed successfully or failure. We have to think of those. This is the level of conversation that I'm defining here. You might see that each conversations are assigned a different role to the system user. There is another one uh, also you might need to think of is the environment. The environment is what will hold, for example, your sensitive data, your Azure OpenAI or OpenAI endpoint or API, and so on. So you, in case if you want to experience the same, I highly suggest you to update this accordingly. And then here is that this is a folder. This folder is where the entire script will be saved. Okay, we will see that live. And then we have a CSV files. This is the CSV files we will be loaded, right? The development will be done, and we will experience the loading part as an extra. But the intention or the focus of this presentation is to trigger your awareness. Now you don't really need to rely on someone else. If that person is not available, you can mainly leverage the generative AI, either for Azure OpenAI, Copilot, uh, within Bang, and so on. So what I'm doing right here is that I'm setting up my environment. I'm going to bring this down a little bit for you to be able to see the entire script. Is that I am importing OS. The reason why I'm doing this, because I will need to ask ChatGPT to save those scripts. Okay. In order to do that, I need OS access, and I will also need to be able to read each script file and then ask ChatGPT to go and make them runnable, make them ready for productions. And I'm importing Azure OpenAI library for me to be able to connect to Azure OpenAI. Here I'm loading, for example, the environment variable for me to be able to access them. This is where I'm defining my model. This is where I'm defining, for example, the script directory. There will be cases you will see me update it. And then here is the temperature. The temperature defines the level of condomness when it comes to creativity. Do you want it to be more concise, which is 0? In our case, it has to be 0 because we do not want ChatGPT to be too smart and add additional script to wipe out our hard drive or truncate our table, right? However, if you want it to be so creative, you can set this to 1 or close to 1. You can see that I'm defining the max token. Max token also play a big role. Why? Because remember, max token can impact cost and it can impact your completion. If, uh, if for example, max token is too low, if the completion require more tokens, truncation will happen. If your max token happen to be too high, your completion will not get truncated, but your cost will impact. Make sure you know the length of your expectation and set it up accordingly. What I'm doing here is that I'm defining the client connection. That's all. And I'm assigning the entire information here to this variable for me to be able to use it. So I'm going to execute this. And then right here, you remember that we will tell ChatGPT we have to save ChatGPT response to disk. So that's why we open OS library, and I'm creating a functions, and these functions will uh, write the content to uh, our directory. So this is your exceptions, which is part of this. So right here is that this is the script that will be uh, leveraged to send the request to Azure OpenAI. And this script is that it's leverage what we call chat completions right here. And within that script, we need to have a message. That message is an array of key value pair. And within that array, we need to specify the system role and the user input, which going to be prompt. And then we define the model, and this process work on ChatGPT 3.5 and latest. It has been tested. Okay, those are the temperature and max token. So what I'm doing here, I'm cleaning up some of the things and then call the function that I created to save that functions. So I'm gonna execute this. Let me see. It's executed. So now this is the conversation. This is the flow of the conversations. So I am using a dictionary and a tuple, right? And define, for example, you see within that dictionary, I have, for example, a create database, the flow of the executions, right? But doing the script creation, the flow doesn't matter, but doing the deployment, the sequence matter. So now, if you, for example, you see there's a create STG, there's this create schema STG. This is the name of the file. We have another schema we're creating. That's the name we will tell ChatGPT to give it. And then we have a table. If you go within the JSON file, you will see that each one that I define, each key within my dictionary have, for example, the information. ChatGPT knows where to get it. So the process knows. So what I'm doing here, I'm gonna define uh, uh, the conversation flow. And then here, I want to validate if the conversation that I define match the need. If you pay close attention, you will see that this JSON file point to this JSON file. This is the same name, and you will see that the deployment type or conversation type is created by SQL database. If we go back here, you can see now we are at the initial development. So what I'm going to do is execute this just to see the flow of the conversation. We're telling ChatGPT to act as an engineer. The reason why we need to assign a role to ChatGPT, remember ChatGPT has been trained on a corpus internet data set. So it has so much knowledge. We do not want ChatGPT to leverage that entire knowledge, but we can ask ChatGPT to focus on one discipline. So your predictions when it comes to tokens will mainly based on the role that you assign to ChatGPT. So we give ChatGPT the definitions, the schema definitions of the final table. So therefore, it knows the final table because what I want you to understand, if you do not provide valuable information, the way you want your completions to be done may not be suitable. And here I'm defining the database. This is the user input. Uh, I ask it to create a database and give the name it Azure OpenAI. Here is that what I'm doing here is that I'm telling it to create a stage schema, tell it to create another schema and call it PRD, and I'm asking it to create a temp table. When I'm creating that temp table, you can see that I mentioned Vaca 255. The reason why I mentioned Vaca 255, I do not want my staging loading process to be failed because of truncation, not truncation, because of data conversion issue. Okay, so however, when I ask it to create the production table, the final table, I ask it to follow the correct schema. And that schema is what we have here. And we tell it. So it knows to go back. The assistant, the system will feed that information to the assistant, and the assistant, as long as within your prompt you give it some hint, uh, it will know exactly what you're saying. That's what I'm doing here. So now I know everything is as expected. I will need to define each conversations, right? Because we can't send them as a chunk here. So we will need to define each conversation. So here, what I'm doing in this functions, I'm defining each conversation separately. You can see I'm bringing the deployment type. I'm bringing the index ID, and within the index ID, I'm getting the first index, which is 0. So therefore, that 0 is for the system, um, uh, it is for the user prompt, okay? And I'm getting the system prompt right here, okay? So now I'm looping through each key and defining the file name, right? And I'm defining the message. You can see that I assign this system role right here, and I assign the user prompt right here, as you can see. Now, if I execute this, hopefully, okay, if I execute this, now I'm ready to send that data. For me to send that data, I will also need to refer to this JSON file, and then and I will also need to mention the type of conversation. What I'm doing here now, I'm gonna send the request to ChatGPT. As soon as I send that request, if you notice, we have files that are creating, and those files are valid SQL, right? As you can see, this is the same information we asked ChatGPT to do. This is the schema. This is the stage table, okay? And this is the view. And you remember within the store procedure, we ask, it's a bit complex. We tell ChatGPT if someone send, for example, provide a country, so we should return that country. If they don't provide any country, so I want you to return everything. So now you can see it knows to have an input parameter because we did give ChatGPT enough hands to think. But here's the thing, when we're looking at this one, we are not done yet because there will be, uh, when it comes to database development, okay, process and error log handling matter. So what we're going to do now, we're going to change the conversations flow. Okay, the conversation now mainly focus on what we call um, um, error handling. So now I'm gonna go and execute this. So you familiar, I will spend less time to talk about the script now. So what I'm doing here is I'm validating the conversation. You can see now um, the request is kind of different, right? So you once you download it, I would suggest you to go and read and understand what each script are doing, which each part of the script are doing. So what I'm going to do now, I'm gonna send that conversation and change the deployment type. If I execute this, notice that it will go and create our process table log. Where uh, table log, and it will also create store procedure for us to manage the execution flow, right? And also handle error exceptions. So you can see that if I go back here, this is the table, and then here, this is the store procedure. You can see very well written. And then this is the schema, and then this is the store procedure for the process log. But here's the thing, team. Once we're done, we we normally want everything to be rerunnable, right? To make it reusable, you can see that this are not ready for production because this is hard coding. It is not ready for production. And we have a truncate table, which is good, but this is not ready for production. So what we going to tell ChatGPT to make this ready for production by convert this, make it runnable using dynamic SQL. Even for example, if we have to load the data to production, you can see this is not ready for production. When we're loading the data, error can happen, right? And also we like to track the execution time, right? Those information would be great if we can log them. Let's see if we can force ChatGPT to do that. So what I'm going to do now is that I need to convert all the non reusable script into a dynamic transactional script files, right? So therefore, there are two files I'd like to change, and those two files are the one that I already mentioned, okay? And then the next one is this one. So we're gonna make them dynamic. So what I'm doing right here is that in order to make them dynamic, I will need to be able to read the file. So that's what I'm doing. I'm creating another functions and I'm calling that functions to read transact SQL file. I'm opening that file and I'm getting the content. This content is what I will send to ChatGPT, as you can see here. So now, here is that what I'm doing here is that I am calling the JSON functions that have all the information, and I am opening the file, okay, and I'm defining the conversation right here and let it know what part of the conversation or deployment type. And then right here is that I'm telling where the script files are located, as you can see right here. Yeah. And then what I'm doing, I'm defining the value here, uh, the value for the user input sections, right? And then here I'm getting the content that returned from that that functions. If you remember, these functions return the content. This is what I'm getting right here. Is that and then what I'm doing here, I'm defining the message, okay, and I'm sending the request. If we observe, I'm gonna click, it will go, it will read the prompt. You can see that it's already point to one. If we come back here, you can see ChatGPT was able to make this dynamic, and because when it comes to dynamic SQL, execute is not that much secure. We're using SP execute. And if you go to that JSON file, once you download it from our GitHub, you will see that that JSON file, we tell it to leverage SP execute SQL instead of exec SQL. And then if we go back to our note, notebook, and then we go we access the other script, you can see, take a look, team. It's add the process. It knows exactly where to add it, and it knows exactly how to define those variables because you cannot explicitly call them as a store procedure parameter. It will fail. So it knows, for example, to uh, uh, define them as we mentioned this and execute this. Now you can see this is where you're probably wondering is those scripts are trustable? Can we load them to SQL Server? So what I'm going to do here is I'm checking to see, I'm creating these functions and I'm gonna use these functions just as a testing to make sure that I can test to SQL Server. So let me go back. You can see we're able to connect to SQL Server. So we have a database called Azure OpenAI, just to make it fun based on questions I normally get when I'm presenting these presentations. So instead of this one, and they like to create the database manually. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a database. Okay. I have the script right there. If you want to have fun of it the same way, when you download it, you will see that. So I can have, so I'm going to create one database. That's the only things we're going to do outside of our notebook, right? So sorry about that. So now I'm going to go back. If I re-execute this, you should see that it is there. So therefore, okay, therefore you can see that now we have Azure OpenAI. We're gonna use this Azure OpenAI, and then we're gonna perform the deployment. Now we are done with development. And what I'm doing here, I'm defining a script. You know, within this script, there might be Go. When we read that, and if we're using by OBDC, that Go can force your process to fail. So in order for that, I create this function script just to clean it up a little bit. So therefore, if it's a script file, it will look for Go and it will go and remove that Go and keep add read line by line and then add them up. If there's a Go, remove them, skip it. And if I provide a query, I know I will not make it. I will not add Go. It will go and get that query and execute it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm gonna execute this. And then here I'm defining the sequence of the executions. So what I mean by is that um, uh, I am telling it, okay, how to execute each script. Because first of all, if you are not using DBO by default, if you using your own user schema, you have to create that schema before you create that table. So of your sub OCG, there's a dependencies you need to understand and consider you cannot have schema without database namespace. So therefore, database has to be created first. So what I'm telling it is that if I create a view without the table, the execution might fail. Okay, the stop procedure may give you a warning. Some tables or objects are missing, just to bring this to your attention, but the view will automatically fail. So therefore, I'm defining the flow, the sequence of the executions. This is, so now, guess what? What I'm doing here, I'm executing those to the database we just created, just to show you, okay, we have nothing here, okay, nothing here. We have nothing here, and we don't have any schema, okay. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna go back right there and I'm gonna execute this. You should see that by executing this, our object are created. If I go back right here, you should see everything is created. So there's absolutely no doubt that about the script. And once you download it, you try them. Remember, um, uh, you will see that those code are well written, okay? But when it comes to the generative AI, you should never be 100% confident. So there will always be a manual validation as a human. You should not 100% rely on it. And also, if you're trying it, uh, if there is comment added, you might need to play with it. But everybody that already downloaded, I can even count, right? And I have great feedback, by the way. And some of them even ask me to shoot a video and post it to make people aware of that. And guess what happened? So they can see the beauty of having intelligence assistance as a peer. So therefore, you are free to go and revisit the code. You will see they are well written code, even though there are ways we can optimize them, right? And then here is that we can see there is no data. Let's take a look. We don't have any data. Let's load the data. So let's load the data. So while loading the data, so take a look. What I'm doing here, I'm executing the data. So this is the data. and this is the error log where it has to dump them, and this is where the data is located. If I click on it, that's the data we are loading. So let's go back here. Okay, I'm gonna execute this, and I'm loading it to stage. And you can see if I go back now, the data is in stage. But uh, that should get us data, but that should there must be zero data returned here. Let's see if the process log that was generated by the Genera AI, can we choose that? If we click on the process log, you should see that it was logging as expected, with no doubt, but there were no error message, so therefore there must be zero record under that one, right? Because this is empty, the view point to the production table, not the staging one, that should be empty. So let's go and load the staging. If I go and load the data from staging to destination, now you should see that if I go back here, you should see that now there will be one more log insert, there will be zero record for the failure, and also you should be able to get your data. And remember, we tell it for the stop procedure, if we specify a country, that country should be returned. Let's validate if this is working. So now we can see that it is working as expected. So without us doing nothing, you might be wondering, what's the point doing this if we can type it? What about speed? Number one, if we have to think of speed, right? English is my third language. It might take me longer than ever. Okay, uh, but for you, it might be much easy to take less time. And then also, instead of you relying on someone else, you can leverage the generative AI as an intelligence assistant, right? For you. Okay, for efficiency and speed up. So guess what happened now? We know we are done. So what we're going to do is that let's try to see if we know everything has been tested. The only thing haven't been tested yet is what we call the error handling. Let's see if we can test that. So we have a file, and that file called we have it as a bad data, and I want you to go and see this. We know, for example, this will fail with a proper schema. This will fail. So what I mean by, let me explain this to you. So if I go and execute this, I'm execute this, and remember, this is the loading staging. Okay, this is okay, loading staging process. So therefore, we should go and see one record added. Okay, we should go and see one record added. So now you can see we have one record, but we don't have any error. The reason why we don't have error is that if you remember our table definitions for the error, if I can see it here, for the error log table has to be varchar. No, that's the no. Let me see. We done it under a different schema. So give me a second. Let me refresh this. Okay. Where is the error log? Okay, perfect. Where is this? Yeah, sorry, I was confused. You can see this is 255. Yeah, that's 255. So therefore, if we select this, you can see we should have one record, because within that script, there's a truncation that must occur. I think the stop procedure is here as well. I don't need to go to the um, uh, I don't need to go to the notebook. You can see we have a truncate table. It knows to truncate. Okay. So now here's the thing. If for fun we revisit this one, we didn't tell ChatGPT to convert that data. ChatGPT knows based on the system user. We will give it some hand again. Okay, it knows. Okay, if the final table has a proper definition, but the source table has it happen to be different, it knows to take off conversion. You can see if you go over the prompt, you will see I didn't mention conversion, but you will see how I was able to nicely um, uh, define the system and each user prompt for each conversation style. So consistency matter if you want efficiency, great accuracy, right? Uh, Efficiency, consistency within your prompt matter. So now consider if I execute this, even though it is executed successfully, it didn't load. The reason why it didn't load, if we go on our error log, now we execute this, you should see we have one error message stating that we cannot convert one by zero. That's impossible. So therefore, you can see the beauty of the generative AI. Hopefully, you learned something out of these presentations. I have to leave in 10 minutes at 5:55. If you have any question, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, everyone, and care, Kevin.
Yeah, John, the only thing is, did you send over the link? 'Cause I know people are asking for that one.
Perfect. And I'm gonna show you the link. For example, I have it. Give me 1 second. I have it here. Just for me. This is the video because if you want it's the same video though, but the thing is this is the repo that will get you access to my repo, and this is the repo for Microsoft Azure SQL database. Okay, and then you are free to download it on either one of them.
Perfect.
Yeah,
There's no
and
questions, at least so far, but I am sure people will be popping up things here in a minute.
thank you everyone. Yeah,
Waiting for if there are any questions or people coming up with some. I just want to remind everyone that on April 9th is our next presentation, answering the auditor's call with automation with Andy Levy. And then later on in April, it is Azure ML Ops, bring your DevOps to machine learning with Stefano Tempesta. Both of those look like great presentations. So I know I'm looking forward to both of those as well, especially Andy's with auditors, because we all know working with auditors can be a bit challenging at best. Let's see. Several people have posted. Lestamir asked, can you please talk a little bit about how you would productionize all of this? How would the end user invoke a notebook?
um uh, that's a great question. How to productionize this? There's actually um if 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 I'm thinking of, I came from a consultant background where I used to work for, uh, for organization that mainly related to healthcare data, right? Where we have where there's a tenant and each member sign up have the same schema definition, but the content of the data is different. So having something like that to quickly uh, generate the data for each tenant is valuable. However, I have a similar sessions where I use Microsoft AutoGen. Instead of I click myself, I generate 3 agents and have the agent, one agent as assistant, one agent to understand the requirement, and another agent to execute the script. And the role of the assistant is to revisit the script that the agent provided to see if it's meet the requirement expectation, then execute it. So when it comes to production, soon as I think I will mainly focus on uh, Microsoft Auto Agent. Yeah. And what I want you to understand is that it is what it um, is that especially for me, I'm speaking mainly for me, and sometimes there are some tasks aside to me. It's hard to get started because the task is rely on other team. So therefore, even though I will not be able to productionize that notebook, but the knowledge and the flow on how I can leverage the generative AI as a knowledgeable peer can speed up the process and make the process ready for production. So hopefully I was able to answer your Masik. Yeah, but that was a great question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Can this
Yep.
solution be expanded so target schema structure is as well determined by AI?
And when you say target schema, as well is determined by the AI. Can you elaborate? Because with what I want you to understand is going impossible for even us as human to get work done without informations. So we need to provide informations. If AI doesn't know what to do, why do they hire us? Before they hire us, what they do, they have us go and learn business logic and requirement. So it's going to be impossible to tell AI, okay, consider it, I can upload the CSV file into the generative AI and tell it to guess what would be the schema. But what about the business requirement? If you remember, the business requirement is something AI cannot determine. It's gonna come from business need and requirement. Uh, the way to leverage the generative AI as a knowledgeable peer is to bring the mindset of the way we interact with others when it comes to project wise, because we as IT guy that turn business requirement into IT processes, we require information. By the way, IT by definition is information technology. Without information, there's no technology. Do you understand? So if AI doesn't know, AI can guess, but that guess, will that fit business need? That's the question. So I don't think I have a clear understanding of that question. But the thing is, if you want to 100% rely on AI to guess what needs to be done, I would not suggest everyone to do that, right? Can the solution, okay, Masika, I'm not sure if I was able to answer your question.
Hello, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chris, I can hear you. So which SQL did you started to learn? I love that, Chris. Chris, do you mind to elaborate maybe which SQL did you started to learn? I love that question. I'm not. First of all, I'm not sure in what context. Before I respond, Chris, we have 2 minutes, Tim, and I have to join another call. Yeah, great. It sounds like we all set, Kevin.
Sounds that way. So thank you, John, for joining us. This has been great. I think my eyes have been opened a little bit more to what ChatGPT and OpenAI can do. So I know I'm going to start using it a little bit more. It may be a while before I'm up to this level, but I think we'll get there.
We will.
As always, sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought you were done. I said you will, because even myself, it took me sometimes, and it's still new. I cannot claim to say I know it all. Yeah, all I can say to you and everyone me on the call is keep trying.
True that. All right. So everyone, please remember to join us on March 19th. March 19th is today. Join us on April 9th as we're talking with Andy Levy on answering the auditor's call with automation. So with that, thank you all so much. Have a great day. And John, jump on that meeting. Have a great day. And we will talk to everyone soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Begins.